the Democrats not want voter ID? Because they want to cheat. We want to have voter ID. But if crooked Joe Biden gets his way, Drake employees and countless other auto workers and suppliers will really be decimated. I don't know. I hate to tell you what's going to happen, but you know what's going to happen. We're going to stop it. By most estimates, under Biden's electric vehicle mandate, 40% of all U.S. auto jobs will disappear. Think of this, in 1 or 2 years. Think 1 or 2 years. That's what you have to be talking about, not you're going to get X dollars an hour. It doesn't matter what the hell you're getting an hour. Do me a favor. Just get your union guys, your leaders, to endorse me. Okay? And I'll take care of the rest. Because in looking over the statistics now, they're saying, but the real number will be 100%. Because under Biden's mandate, the entire car industry will be packed up and shipped to China, which controls over 80% of the supply chain for electric vehicle batteries. They control the whole thing. So they think close to 100% of the business will be gone. Every time Joe Biden and the UAW's political leadership talk about a fair transition to all electric cars, American labor will be under siege. It's not going to work for you. It can't work. And I learned a lot today with this great family. I tell you, they said, you know, it just won't work. They don't need anything that you have right here in Michigan, and they have beautiful product. There's no such thing as a fair transition to the end of your way of life. You're going to lose your beautiful way of life. For auto workers, Biden's forced transition is a transition to hell. It's a transition to hell. It's a transition to unemployment and to inflation without end. The inflation that you have now, we didn't have inflation. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. You know that because you went 4 years like you've never had in your history, in the history of Michigan. To the striking workers, I support you in your goal of fair wages and greater stability, and I truly hope you get a fair deal for yourselves and your families. But if your union leaders will not demand that Crooked Joe repeal his electric vehicle mandate immediately, then it doesn't matter what hourly wage you get. It just doesn't make a damn bit of difference, because in 2 to 3 years, you will not have one job in this state. And you've seen it happen before. You've seen what happened where massive percentages of your industry went to other countries like Mexico, like China, like South Korea, like Japan. In other words, your current negotiations don't mean as much as you think. I mean, I watch you out there with the pickets, but I don't think you're picketing for the right thing. But if they endorse me, your leadership, you can tell them I said it, although I have a feeling they may be watching tonight. Because, you know, when Biden came here yesterday, they only had 11 people. I'll bet you we have 10,000 people standing outside. Right? I think we do. In fact, for a little while, we're driving through, the people are going crazy. I said, is this a rally tonight? No, but I said, is this a rally? We're driving through thousands and thousands of people. We just put it online. Incredible. The great Dan Scavino put it online. Where's Dan Scavino? The great Dan Scavino. He gets everything. He sees what's going on. Thank you, Dan. Where is he? One of the greats of all time, most powerful men in politics. He controls the internet. The great Dan Scavino. Get over here for the cameras, Dan. Get over here. Stephen Chung has done incredible. Jason Miller, a legend. Jason, oh, somebody likes you over here, Jason. Now I have a great group of people. They all want to come. I said, you guys don't have to come. They said, no, we want to come. They want to come. And they don't want to come to keep me from falling either. They want to come for... You see that one now? They have a new plan. How to keep this guy from standing up. We have to get him to stand up. How to keep him standing up and getting down a flag. You know, it's so unelegant. You know, I love those 747s, Air Force One. You know, I got new Air Force One I saved $1.7 billion. They came to me, they said, sir, would you sign this? First day I was in office, I said, what is it? It's a new Air Force One. It's $5.7 billion. I said, that sounds like a lot of money for a plane. It's actually 2 planes, by the way, but they call it Air Force One. They're identical. I mean, even the wood grain, you can't tell the difference. I could tell because there was a little nick in one desk that wasn't on the other. So I could say, that's one, and the other one's two. No, it's incredible, actually. But, you know, those planes are like 32 years old, and nobody wanted to make the move and do it because they think, oh, it'll look luxury. In the meantime, they come in from Saudi Arabia and these other countries, brand new. They're like 3 months old, and they blow it away. And, you know, our country should have the latest and the greatest. So they wanted me to do it. It was $5.7 billion. I said, nope, it's too high. They said, why do you see that? Why are you saying that? Because Obama agreed to the deal. If they agreed to it, it's too high. So the head of Boeing came in and he said, sir, we have to get 5.7. I said, nope, I'm not doing it. I was supposed to sign it. I said, I'm not doing it, not for 5.7. It has to have a 3 on it. I didn't know what that meant, except I knew it was a hell of a cut, right? Right? Right, Al? So they said, sir, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We'll take off $400 million. That was pretty good. I said, you know, I've been doing this for about 3 minutes, and I got $400 million. Can you imagine the money these people make doing these plans? So I said, no deal. I said, no deal. And it's got to have a 3, got to have a 3. And I held out, and they called up 2 weeks later. I said, what do they want? And they were calling. They said, sir, we're going to take another $300 million. That's $700 million off. And I haven't done anything. Probably worked for about 2.5 minutes, and I got 700. And I just said no, and I sort of forgot about it. A month and a half later, they called me up. Sir, we'll do it for $3,999,999,999.99, right? And I said, you have yourself a deal. So I saved $1.7 billion on that plane. I was very proud of it. Does anybody give me credit for that? No. Does the fake news call me and say, what a wonderful thing you did? No. That's okay. That's okay. But your leadership should endorse me, and I will not say a bad thing about them again, and they will have done their job. They will have done a proper job. In fact, if they endorse me, they will have the easiest labor leadership job anywhere in the country. They just have to sit back and watch as our auto industry reignites and booms. That's what's good. They don't even have... Right? I mean, how can they go with this guy? Can't find his way off the stage. I'm looking at these, you know, I always sort of look at stages now. I get a little, because I say, you know, how the hell do you not find your way? So every once in a while I'll be in the middle of the speech, I'll look, stairs there, stairs there. And I say, how the hell does it work that you can't find your way off a stage? How does that work? But he can't. Joe Biden is surrendering our auto industry to China, just like he surrendered our borders to the cartels and he surrendered Afghanistan in the most embarrassing week, day, time period in the history of our country. He surrendered to the Taliban, took the military out first. You don't take the military, you take the military out last. So tell your UAW leadership, no problems with them, but they have to endorse Trump, because if they don't, all they're doing is committing suicide. And honestly, you don't want that to happen, because they're committing suicide on the back of your jobs, and you can't let that happen. The Democrats, as they wave the white flag of surrender over your future to other foreign countries, you can't have it done. So if you could speak to Sean, he's listening right now, I'm sure. Sean, endorse Trump, and you can take a nice 2-month vacation, come back, and you guys are going to be better than you ever were. You don't even have to worry. Because the other way, you won't have a vacation, Sean, and in a short period of time, you're not going to have a union, you're not going to have jobs, you're not going to have anything. You have the strongest you've ever had. You're going to do great. You're going to do great. And it's so easy. It's common sense. Again, it's common sense. But unlike them, I will never surrender. I'll never surrender for you. And the American worker never surrenders either. Never. But you need leadership. You know, it's nice to say you never surrender, but you need direction and you need leadership. Crooked Joe puts China first, Mexico first, Ukraine first, Europe first, Asia first, illegal aliens first, environmental lunatics first, puts everyone else first. But he puts America last, he puts our workers last, he puts the UAW last, he puts our industries last, he puts your families last, he puts everything, he does put your children last, yeah. When you think of it, probably they should be at the top of your list. Thank you very much. I'm going to use that. Do you mind if I use that from now on? Who said that? That was very good. He puts your children last. That's going at the top of my list. He puts everything that's good last. Mine is slightly different. I put America first every single time. So let me say to every UAW member and skilled workers all across our nation, Joe Biden, the Democrat Party, and their political cronies, cease to serve your interests a long time ago. They don't care about you. I mean, he came here yesterday. What did he have? 9 people, right? 9. We have 9,000 people outside.
All right, this is Andrew Kraft here. We are at the top of the hour. Just wanted to check in with some of our viewers here. You are watching former President Donald Trump right now. He's been speaking for about 45 minutes there in the Detroit area to many of his supporters, some of whom are UAW workers there who have been on the picket line. So just wanted to reset at the top of the hour. We're going to continue with this live coverage of former President Trump's remarks. Let's keep watching.
That you've never even heard of. And just like you're fighting for your rights and your American dream, I'm fighting for my rights and fighting for my freedom against the coordinated, corrupt, very politicized forces of evil. I've never seen anything like it. It's weaponized justice. We have a weaponized justice system. I want to indict, think of this, I want to indict my political opponent. He's beating me. We got to indict him. I think, you know, that works 2 ways, because when the next one gets in, let's hope that's me. And I'm sure I'd never do a thing like that. I wouldn't do it. I would not do it. But you have an opponent and you say, let's indict him. And because people know me so well, we know each other very well, my ratings and my approval numbers went up. I'm the only person that ever got indicted where my numbers went up. It's a weird... That's because you know me. I didn't take a salary. I worked my ass off. And we did a phenomenal job. We did a phenomenal job for this country. But for the first time ever, I never thought they indict their political opponent. And what that does is it sets off a chain of events that's very dangerous in future years. It could happen to them very easily. The reason Crooked Joe and his thugs are trying so hard to stop me is that in my first term, I disrupted all of it. Oh, did I disrupt? That was called major disruption. And in my second term, which we're sort of having now, but I don't want the results, right? I don't want the results of this second term. This second term is a disaster for this country. Worst president, think of it, there's never been a president like this. I say that you could take the 5 worst presidents in history, add them up, and he's done a worse job than all of them added up. But now I'm changing it. I think I can make it to 10 because nobody, you look at our border, you look at everything, you look at our woke military. I defeated ISIS. Our military was so great. I rebuilt it. But you look at what's happening in this country, it's horrible. But in my second term, we'll finish the job and we'll get rid of the cheaters, the liars, the scammers, and the criminals. They'll lose their grip on power once and for all. So if you want to save your livelihoods and your way of life, then you need to send a message and join the ultimate strike against the globalist class by casting your vote for a gentleman known as Donald J. Trump in the most important election of our lifetime. I believe this will be the most important election in our lifetime. You know, I used to say that in 2016, and I totally meant it. This blows it away. We're going to lose our country. We're going to lose. We've got probably 15 to 18 million people, the real number, pouring into our country. We have a disaster in Ukraine that would have never happened. We have a potential disaster with Taiwan, China, that would have never happened if it happens, but boy, they are circling, I'll tell you. They want it so badly. And they saw what happened in Afghanistan. They saw what happened with the Taliban, and they say the people they have there now are grossly incompetent. Putin would have never done it. President Xi would have never done it with me. We talked about things, a lot of things. They would have never done it. They wouldn't have done it for another reason also. In the case of Russia, the oil prices would have been so low that they wouldn't have been able to afford it, because you would have had $40 a barrel oil, and at $40 he could not have prosecuted the war. But at $115 he made a fortune and makes a fortune with the war. It's up there again now. I don't know if you've been watching. It's getting up there again now. So give me 4 more years and I will give you the end to this horrible globalism that's killing our country. I'll give you the return of the United States of America as the greatest and strongest industrial nation in the history of the world. Together we will dismantle the corrupt power structure that has feasted on the suffering of the American auto worker and the workers of any kind, not just auto workers, workers of any kind. We will cast from power the financial forces that have turned American cities into ghost towns to build skyscrapers in Beijing, China. We will wield every lever of government to defend you and to hold accountable those who have profited from the betrayal and suffering of the American factory workers. So sad to see. As your 47th President of the United States, I will be your protector, I will be your advocate, and I will be your greatest champion, the greatest champion that you've ever had. On day one, I will terminate Joe Biden's electric vehicle mandate, and I will cancel every job-killing regulation that is crushing American auto workers. I will unleash a thing called American energy, stop the ban on the internal combustion engine, and we will drill, baby, drill, and we will make zero environmental difference. It will have zero environmental difference, zero. In fact, if anything, it's probably cleaner than what they're doing. But it'll save your family a yearly fortune and give you a much better way of life. You're losing your way of life. I will then go to every foreign country where we're paying billions and billions of dollars for their military defense, as I was doing before, and tell them that if they do not massively increase their purchases of Ford, Chevys, GMs, and Jeeps, our troops are packing up and we're coming home. You got to buy our products. You got to buy our products. And that's going to be the least of it. And if we can afford to send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, then we can afford to have an auto industry that pays our workers a good living wage and keeps our workers working. Having a vibrant car industry is far more important than almost anything we can do for a very important thing called national security. We need a rebirth of loyalty in this country. To that end, we will bring back a very beautiful word, protection, financial protection. You're going to be protected financially while we still have the power to do it. You know, there's a run on our currency. They want to take away our currency standards. If that happens, that's the worst thing to happen maybe in our country's history. It'll put us in a much different position. But take a look at what's happening. Countries are leaving our standard. In reality, protectionism never truly went out of fashion. Our corrupt politicians just stopped protecting American jobs and workers, and they started protecting the jobs and workers in China and Mexico, Germany, South Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam, many other countries too. Under the Trump presidency, patriotic protectionism will be the new American way. We want to be protected. That's what we have our government for. We want protection in many ways, and we're going to stop the crime in our cities, and we're going to stop the crime in our country. And we're not going to be nice about it. We're not going to be nice about it. That means protecting our workers, protecting our wages, protecting our jobs, protecting our industries, protecting our communities, and protecting our great, something you don't hear about very much anymore, a great American dream. We had an American dream. You don't hear about that with this guy. This guy walks up yesterday, looks like he's going to fall over standing in front of some people. Looks like he's going to fall over. This is not a leader. The whole world is laughing at us. They respected your leader. Whether you like your leader or not, they respected your leader. They said, we're not going to mess. We're not going to mess. Upon taking office, I will impose an across-the-board tariff on foreign-made goods. I will also pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That means that if China or any other country makes us pay a 100 or 200 or 300% tariff or tax, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff of 100, 200, or 300%. What could be more fair? Right? What could be more fair? I will revoke China's most favored nation. Can you believe they have a most favored nation status? Because they say we are a developing nation. Well, we're a developing nation, too. When you look at our cities, we're developing. We're developing in the wrong way. They are doing the worst job. Democrat mayors, Democrat governors, and we will impose stiff penalties on China and other trade abusers. Foreign auto parts manufacturing will be among our first targets. We're going to bring it home from China and other foreign countries on a very grand scale. That's you, McGee. All right? That's you. And because we want all Americans to win and win big from these policies, we will insist that as tariffs on foreign countries go up, because they tariff us crazily, and then we have these stupid people, some congressmen, some senators that say, no, sir, we shouldn't tariff them, but they're tariffing us. It doesn't matter, sir, it's free trade. I say, is this guy okay? But when those foreign countries tariff us, taxes on American workers, which is really what it is, small businesses and middle-class families, we will be doing the same to them, and you will watch things happen that you won't even believe. For one thing, you're going to bring back jobs at levels. You know, China, they put a big tax on us when we sell a car, a truck, or anything. And they say to the American companies, we don't want your trucks from America. Come over and build a plant over here. So they're building plants all over China. How stupid is it? We should do the same thing. And we started doing the same thing, and we were doing the same thing. I gave you the largest tax cut in the history of our country, larger than the Reagan tax cut. And we'll do it again. We'll deliver tax cuts, the likes of which you've never seen before. You will do better, make more money, and have a more secure job than you've ever had before. Best of all, they will be fully paid for by outsourcers and foreign producers who will be paying trillions and trillions of dollars into our treasury for the privilege of doing business in the United States of America. Isn't that nice? Going to get rid of a big portion of our deficit, too. We're going to tariff and tax them, and you, the American worker, will be the primary beneficiary. And in conclusion, I don't need to tell anyone in this room what the globalists and trade abusers did to the people of Michigan. You've seen the lives wrecked. You've seen your family destroyed. In many cases, the families have been shattered and the communities battered, brutalized, destroyed economically and by crime. But my message to you tonight is that Michigan's abuse under Joe Biden will end, and I will take you to new heights never dreamed of before, never even dreamed of. The Wall Street predators, the Chinese cheaters, and the corrupt politicians have hurt you. I will make you better. Very simple. I will make you better. For years, foreign nations have looted and plundered your hopes, your dreams, and your heritage, and now they're going to pay for what they have stolen and what they have done to you, my friends. We're going to do it together. We're going to take their money. We're going to take their factories. We're going to rebuild the industrial bedrock of this country like it used to be many, many decades ago. By the time this battle is over, the rusted-out factories will not be here in Michigan. They'll be in Beijing, Shanghai, and other parts of the world. Taking it back. We're taking it back, and it won't be hard. The gleaming new buildings and roaring production lines will be built in Lansing and Flint and Sterling Heights and Grand Rapids and Pontiac, Dearborn and Detroit. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been preparing my entire life for this battle. We did such a great job 4 years ago. We were unfairly interrupted. Let's be nice about it. We were very unfairly interrupted, but in many ways this is better because we've seen what a bad job they have shown us, what a horrible job they do. And we'll be able to do things that nobody would have thought possible. And people won't be complaining even a little bit, because between crime and all of the jobs that have been stolen from us and all of the factories that have been closing, all of the bad things that have been happening with Afghanistan and with Ukraine and with everything, people will say, wow, we want these changes to be made. We want these changes to be made very, very quickly. Just 3 years ago, we had a great economy and the strongest borders in our country's history. We had the best, strongest in our history. We were energy independent, soon to be dominant. We had no inflation. We had a rebuilt I rebuilt the entire military, United States military. We gave $80 billion. Think of it, brand new tanks and planes and goggles and 700,000 guns and rifles, 70,000. You make cars? Who has a used car lot with 70,000? And these are nobody. If you have 500 cars, they tell me that's a lot. You have 70,000, and these are armor-plated in many cases. These cost millions of dollars apiece, many cases. We gave them 70,000. Do you know that Afghanistan is one of the largest sellers of weapons in the world right now? Can you believe it? They're selling all of this stuff that these guys just gave them. How stupid are we? How stupid are we to allow that? We were getting out. I was the one that got it down. We were going to keep Bagram, the air base, because it's right next to where China, forget about Afghanistan, where China makes their missiles, nuclear missiles. It's 1 hour away. We were going to keep that. They ran from it. They ran from it. They left it. They left the lights on. They left the dogs, by the way, for those people that like the dogs. It's a big question. They left the dogs. But we were going to keep that. We were going to do a job, and we were going to be out. We were getting out with real dignity and strength. We weren't going to lose those 13 incredible souls that I met the parents and family the other night. They're incredible people. They're so devastated. They don't talk about the 38 people that were literally no arms, no legs, the faces blown to pieces, and the hundreds of other people that died, all unnecessarily. Wouldn't have happened. You know, I spoke to Abdul, the head of the Taliban. We had a rough conversation. I said, listen, Abdul, don't kill any of our people anymore. You kill any of our people, we're going to hit you harder than anybody's ever been hit. And he said, but why do you send me a picture of my home? I said, you'll have to figure that out. You'll have to figure that one out. You're going to have to figure that one out. But you know what? After that, for 18 months, not one soldier was killed in our country. They were sniping them and killing them. And he's still there. He's in charge. Can you imagine the feeling when they said, Abdul, the Americans have left. The soldiers are gone. He said, no, they would never do that. Only stupid people would do that. No, the soldiers have gone. Before we took the equipment, before we took our people out, we have hundreds of people, maybe thousands, but we have hundreds of people that are American citizens that are still there. We took the soldiers out first. That was the problem. And they should have used Bagram as their place because you had tremendous area. It wouldn't have been that disaster that you witnessed with the planes going up. Remember when Biden said, we'll never have a Vietnam with the helicopters going up? Well, this was worse. This was a plane going up with people hanging all over the plane and falling from 3,000 feet in the sky. That's 3 times the height of the Empire State Building, by the way. Russia was not going into Ukraine. China was not going into Taiwan. We had our enemies in full retreat. They respected us all over the world. We were respected. Now we're laughed at as a country. And now we're coming back to do it all over again. And I promise you this, with me as your president, our opponents will lose and our American workers will be the biggest winner of them all. So with your help and with your vote, we will expel the globalists from our government. We will evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House. We will put America and our workers first. We're going to put them first. And we will do something that's very, very special that I've been saying for a long time, and we had it going at a level that nobody ever thought possible. We will make America great again. So thank you. God bless you, Michigan, and God bless you, auto workers, and God bless America. God bless everybody in this room. Thank you all very much. So nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so there you have it. Former President Donald Trump making his re-election pitch there in Michigan tonight. You heard him talk about the UAW strike, talk about electric vehicle manufacturing as well. Now remember, he won Michigan once. Back in 2016, he lost Michigan last cycle in 2020. He wants to be president again. And he wants the UAW's endorsement. He said that several times. He says Shawn Fain, the UAW president, needs to endorse. He called Fain a good guy. He says, get your union leaders to endorse me. It's as explicit as you can get there. We have another shot there. Let's take that live of Trump there greeting some of his supporters. You see some of the signs there. Auto workers for Trump, union members for Trump. Now, this is Macomb County. This is Trump country in a state that has trended and gone solidly blue, especially back last year when the midterms. So the state legislature in Michigan, the governor's mansion in Michigan, all solidly blue right now. That was the first time in 50 years. But if Trump is the nominee, he wants to win it back. And that was the pitch tonight. So, obviously, split screen. You have the second RNC GOP primary debate airing right now on the Fox Business Network and the Fox News Channel. Of course, not here on Live Now. But Trump mentioned it very briefly. Don't know if you caught that. He said it's a jobs debate, kind of a tongue-in-cheek notion that he thinks those contenders on the debate stage tonight will eventually work for him in a second Trump administration. That's kind of what he was alluding to there. All right, we're going to step away from this shot. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. But time and time again, you heard Donald Trump there go after electric vehicles. Now, he kind of hedged a bit. He said, you know, he didn't completely hate electric vehicles, but he wasn't that favorable to them. He said the Biden administration is forcing consumers to go all electric there. And so that is one of the main contentions and the main sticking points in these UAW negotiations. Now, remember, it takes less people to assemble an electric car. And an electric car has less parts than a car with an internal combustion engine. You heard there, he said, the Biden administration wants to get rid of the internal combustion engine altogether. That was a big applause line. But you heard him talk about key international topics, domestic issues like the economy, like the border, like immigration there. Back out live as well to the shot. Well, we just lost the shot, actually. So I think that's the news out of this this speech tonight to the UAW, some of the UAW workers there that are solidly in Trump's camp. He wants their endorsement. He wants Shawn Fain's endorsement. Now, we know, though, that Shawn Fain will not be meeting with former President Donald Trump while he is in Michigan there. Of course, this was the scene earlier. Okay, so Trump was getting a tour of Drake Enterprises. It's a non-union factory there in Macomb County in Clinton Township, and that was the scene. He was getting the tour from some of the plant and factory owners that go back generations. This is a family-owned plant there. Okay, so interesting enough, well, Biden has not got the UAW endorsement yet either. Of course, Biden was on the picket line just yesterday there, very near to where this is, in Wayne County, outside that Ford assembly plant in Michigan. So you have all of these things happening at once. And speaking of President Biden, the motorcade is en route there on the tarmac in California. Let's take that live. Okay, so this is somewhat working out quite well here. You have yet another split screen. It's almost a tri-screen. You got the debate going on there in California where Biden is. Biden is right there in the beast, going to get on Air Force One. He will travel to Arizona. He'll be in Arizona tomorrow speaking at the McCain Institute about particular threats to democracy. It's a theme he talks about a lot. And then, of course, Trump just wrapped up his comments there in Michigan as well. So you can see President Biden there in the back. He was attending some fundraisers tonight in the Bay Area. One that might interest you, he was at the home of billionaire Tom Steyer and his wife. Now, you'll remember Tom Steyer ran against then candidate Biden in the 2020 Democratic primary. But now Biden's former opponent holding and hosting a fundraiser for him. So Biden is going to be walking up the stairs there. You'll note former President Trump kind of made another tongue-in-cheek jab at Biden about tripping a lot. There was that Axios report that some Biden advisors try to make his events trip-proof because we've seen him do that in the past. That was an Axios report a couple of days ago. All right, so I know it's been a busy hour here. We want to take the opportunity now to take just a quick commercial break. Of course, want to preview as well, once the debate that is airing right now on the Fox Business Network and the Fox News Channel, not live now, once that ends, we will be doing post-debate analysis still here. We'll be showing you some clips, some highlights from what the candidates said. We'll be bringing on some political experts. We'll be talking to our reporters there in Simi Valley, California. Live Now look outside of the Reagan Presidential Library there in Southern California. But until then, we have so many more top stories left to get to. Let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Andrew Kraft. We'll see you in 2 minutes. And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox on this Wednesday night. I'm Andrew Kraft. Let's get into more of these top headlines on this Wednesday night. We're at the bottom of the hour. So some breaking news we brought you earlier today. The U.S. soldier who sprinted into North Korea across the heavily fortified border between the Koreas back in July, he was released into American custody today. Of course, his name, Private Travis King. We want to go out now to Fox's Greg Palkot with a summary of this story, and then bring in some experts to talk about why exactly North Korea expelled him and how he got back into U.S. custody so quickly. Here's Greg Palkot's report.
An American service member who crossed the border into North Korea is now on his way home. The Pentagon confirming the return of Army Private Travis King from the north, where he had been held since July. Early Wednesday, Pyongyang said it had expelled King after officials finished questioning him. But the Biden administration tells a different story, saying it secured his return through diplomatic channels. Writing in a statement, quote, "We appreciate the dedication of the interagency team that has worked tirelessly out of concern for Private King's well-being." It's still not clear what prompted King to run across the border. At the time, his family suggested he might be suffering from a mental health crisis.
I think something wrong with him. He ain't thinking clear. I don't think he was just ran out there like that. And my daughter said the same thing too. She said, "That don't seem like my son."
And the timing of his release could be significant. It happened just one day after China, South Korea, and Japan signed a new trilateral agreement underscoring North Korea's diplomatic isolation. But it also came the day after North Korea's UN ambassador gave a major speech denouncing the U.S. and vowing to beef up its military spending.
The reckless acts of the U.S. are exerting an irreversibly destructive impact on the security structure. North Korea is urgently required to further accelerate the buildup of self-defense capabilities.
The Pentagon says that Private King will be flown to Brooke Army Medical Center in Texas on Thursday. In London, Greg Malcon, Fox News.
Greg, thanks so much. Okay, back out live to Air Force One. Well, speaking of some White House officials, they put out a statement today, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, on the release of Private Travis King. And so I want to read from the statement. Sullivan says this: U.S. officials have secured the return of Private Travis King from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. We appreciate the dedication of the interagency team that has worked tirelessly out of concern Private King's well-being. In addition, we thank the government of Sweden for its diplomatic role serving as the protecting power for the United States in the DPRK, and the government of the People's Republic of China for its assistance in facilitating the transit of King there. So I thought that was really interesting that essentially we relied on Sweden as an interlocutor, but also somewhat China as well. In the meantime, let's talk about this story. Let's bring into the conversation from the Heritage Foundation, Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano. He joins me now. Sir, thanks so much for being with us here. I know you've been following this story so closely like the rest of us. I mean, when I woke up to the news today, I was surprised that we had mediated this, that we had gotten him back into U.S. custody so quickly. I mean, he essentially deserted across the DMZ back in July. He's now in the custody of U.S. officials. Were you surprised at the speed of this?
No, not really. Honestly, I think the answer here is the North Koreans had no use for this guy. He had no value. He had nothing to share. He wasn't really useful for propaganda purposes. And quite honestly, because the United States really showed no interest in pushing to get him back, I think the North Koreans were happy to get rid of him.
Okay, that's so interesting to me because a couple of weeks ago, the state-run news agency there in North Korea, they put out a statement and it said kind of like this, that he confessed that he illegally intruded into North Korean territory because he was, quote, disillusioned about inhumane treatment and racial discrimination in the Army, as well as the, quote, inequality existing within the American society. I mean, should we just chalk that up straight up to North Korean propaganda? Do you think Travis King really said that? Does that really...
I have no idea. The North Koreans have done this before. This is probably the least valuable person that's ever crossed over to North Korea. So honestly, I think they were just happy to get rid of him. It's not surprising that Sweden was involved. Sweden has traditionally been our venue for conversations back and forth. The Chinese line is interesting. This administration has tried to balance the relationship with China. So it's not surprising that they might kind of throw China a bone for this. But even looking at the U.S. statement, it makes it seem like the United States really went out of its way to do something and get this guy back. And to be honest with you, I don't think that's true. If the United States had really seriously made an effort, the North Koreans would have thought it more valuable and they would have made it more difficult.
Okay, so you're saying they would have kind of sweetened the pot, if you will, to get Travis King released back into U.S. custody. And to your point, maybe he was not as high value as some of these, previous detainees, wrongfully detained Americans that we've seen not only in North Korea but elsewhere, like China, like Iran, like Russia. And there are still a lot of wrongfully detained Americans. I mean, Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich comes to mind there in Russia. Is that going to be a higher priority? I was Gershkovich still languishing in a Russian jail cell. I mean, I know these are all happening back channel.
I guess I got more testing and trying.
Well, I think,
still
here's the person who obviously did something.
Well, on this little short stream, I did manage to
he was an
figure
American
out a bunch of
citizen,
things
therefore
at
the U.S.
least.
government has an obligation to try to.
If anybody sees this before I delete it,
He's not equivalent to an
I hope
innocent
you all have a great night.
American that we've seen in places like Iran.